That's probably enough for one video. On the bench today, as you can see, we have 4 Makita die grinders, the 2 new 40 volt ones and the 2 very old 18 volt ones. We'll take a look at the differences here and then we'll have a bit of a play. Now I say 2 new die grinders, really it's 1 die grinder, but just with a different switching mechanism depending on what you like or what you're allowed these days. Personally I prefer slide switches like that. But there is also a paddle switch model, of course, which is what many of you will have to use. Lots of job sites only allow paddle switches, dead man type switches these days, and not the good old-fashioned slide switch. So this is the GD001G and this is the GD002G. Not sure what the numbers exactly will be in the States, but if they stick with this same sort of system, then there'll be the GDG01 and the GDG02. But they might end up the other way around, or one of them might not end up happening, who knows. So what's different between these new 40 volts and the old 18 volts? Well, we've got 2 18 volt ones here. This being the GD800, not sure what the US model number is. If I can find it, I'll put it here. And the little snub nose one here. Snub nose? Stub nose? The short ass one. The GD801. So this one was released first, followed by this one. Is that going to be the same with the 40 volt? Are we going to get some little short ones next? Well, time will tell. Now these have been out for a very long time, so if you've taken a close look here, you'll see these little round black bits on the side. What on earth are those? Some of you watching this might be too young to even know what those are. Well, that's where the brushes go. Ping those off. Inside there, you have a couple of little carbon brushes that rub against your motor and make the thing work. Now, these don't have that. These are, of course, brushless, along with most premium tools these days. Brush tools are still made, but they tend to be cheaper versions, you know, so you've got like budget versions of a tool brand. They're the ones that are going to be brushed, or some certain tools that aren't worth using brushed motors, or there's a space constraint. There's different reasons why some are still brushed, financial reasons, all sorts of things. But yeah, these have not been updated to brushless versions, and these two are not variable speed, no dials on these, it's all or nothing. Whereas these two, 7,000 to 29,000 RPM with the little dial here, numbers 1 through 5. So the RPM of these two, we are looking at 26,000 RPM for this one. And is this one the same? You'd think it would be. Looks like the same tool, doesn't it? Exactly, 26,000. Same tool, just with a different end design here. Now these are, well, they're clunky, they're basic, they're utilitarian. Look at it, it's not quite as nice in the grip department as these two. These two have the over molding in the right place. They're comfort sort of grip. They're designed to fit your hand, whereas this was designed to shove a motor inside it, and if it fits in your hand, well, that's just a bonus sort of thing. These are both slide switches, as you can see, but yeah, comfort wise, they are nowhere near as good as these. Even though these look a lot bigger, they're much more comfortable in the hand than these clunky things. These two are also lacking a light. Apart from the lights on the side here for overloading, and when you put the battery on, you'll see that that will flash. But there's no light for the actual tool itself when it's running. Whereas these, wait for it, not quite a full-on ring light, but it disperses quite nicely, just the 3 LEDs in there. So that is an improvement over the old ones. When it comes to putting in your burrs or whatever bits you're using, there is a spindle lock here, so when that's in the right place it's locked like so. Get your spanner, undo it. Whereas these two old ones, you need 2 spanners, one under there and one around the collet area. So another improvement on the 40 volt. Not only that, the 40 volt one, being brushless and everything, is going to have more sustained power. Less likely to be able to stall this compared to these old ones. Presumably, I'll have a bit of a play in a moment, of course. In fact, shall I go have a play right now? What else do I need to tell you about these things? Is there anything I need to tell you? I'll be using Makita burrs and stuff in them today. and some of these stone ones there. They're all Makita ones. I'll put a link to a Makita website where you can get all the model numbers if you want to try out the different ones, and they're all made for different reasons. This one's for sort of getting into corners, getting things flat edges in corners, and one like that you might use for making holes bigger. You know, they've all got slightly different uses. These are not the sort of tools I use very often, well, if at all really. The sort of thing I need every now and again. I actually used to make things for this. I'll go and see if I can find some spindles and the things I used to make, these little sandpaper ones instead of stones or metal burrs like these ones. They're sandpaper, but also I didn't tell you about the collets, did I? So these come with a 1/4 inch collet. There's also available 8mm, 6mm, 3mm, 1/8 of an inch. Lots available from Makita. I'll put a link to a Makita page about all those as well if you want to order them via the model numbers. But this may be different depending on where you live. Maybe they'll come with an 8mm or something like that. But in this country, just 1/4 of an inch, 6.35mm. Right, let's go grind some steel. We're gonna start off with the stubby 18 volt. Got a bit of 10mm plate here. I'm just gonna try and put a bit of a chamfer on the edge here, take off the sharp cut edge. Oh, I got deep in going. Gonna stall test. Yikes. And I'm gonna have to clamp that down. Those burrs work pretty damn quick. It's good, although I need to be able to control it better. It's quite an aggressive burr. And yeah, need to clamp down this bit of steel. Okay, let's try a stall test. When you're using these sort of burrs, you should run the tool pretty darn quick. If you go too slow, you risk damaging the cutting surfaces on the burr. Hopefully the wind's not too bad on the microphone. It is blowing its guts out at the moment, and it's bloody freezing too. Anyway, I'm going to try and stall this now. Okay, even though that's a brushed tool, she doesn't want to stall, so presumably I got no hope of stalling the 40 volt. Grab the 40 volt, feels so much nicer to hold in the hand. It just, I don't know, the weight's balanced better, and you know, just even though it's heavier, it feels lighter. Anyway, let's just have a little play with that. Oh, you can hear that speed difference. Of course, can't stall it. It was firing so much metal into my face. It's a bit finer burr than the last one. Easier to control, not wanting to run away like the 18 volt was for some reason. Right, let's see if we can do a nicer job rather than this shit. It does feel very nice to use. Pity I'm not better at actually controlling it. This is the paddle model with the stone on it. That's the slower speed. Very quiet. Let's crank it up to speed 2. Speed 3. Have you noticed just then? I'm just going to try something here. I don't know if you could hear it there, but if you listen carefully, when it's under load, the tool is applying more torque to the end. It ramps up the RPMs a bit. As I take the load off, that RPM drops back down again. So it is adjusting to the pressure that you put on the tool. It is so loud and windy out here. Let's go speed 3. Speed 4. And finally, speed 5. I guess we should test the overload protection of this thing. So basically, if you jam it up, you know, there's all of a sudden the speed drops too much on the tool will cut out to protect the tool and to protect you. Helps prevent kickback a bit. It won't stop kickback as such, but it will, if it starts to go or it bloody jams up, it should cut the tool out. Let's give it a whirl. Right, that's what happens when it stalls. Overloaded the tool. That is some badly pitted steel. So these are the cartridge rolls that I used to make in a previous life. Now they are basically just sandpaper rolled up and glued. And I'd come down to the garage late at night for a couple of hours, turn on the telly, smear bits like that. So that there would turn into one that size. This here would turn into one that size. All different sizes, so those ones are parallel, then there's tapered ones like that. So I would smear the glue on them. It was a 2-part epoxy that I would get to go off in a fridge with a 100-watt light bulb in it. So an old fridge with a light bulb in it to cook the glue. And then, believe it or not, I would sell them to 3M. So we did sandpaper ones. I kept all the, as you can see, not very pretty, all the rejects. Got glue in the wrong place and stuff, and use them for shit that I need to do. They wanted to try these out, so these, I can't remember what this stuff's called. You can see it's quite shiny there in the light. They're in like a perfect cut grid sort of pattern, and they're kind of like diamond-like, and they lasted way longer than all these sandpaper ones. But therein lies the problem. Because they lasted so long, people weren't reordering them, and so they stopped making them. And unfortunately, the whole world's like that. Everything could be far less wasteful, far more productive, and far cheaper if companies didn't want to keep selling you consumables. But that's the way the world is, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. Now, how do you get one of these into a die grinder? Well, if you have a look at this here, this mandrel, you would put that inside the die grinder, and then these just go on like so, and then you just tighten it on. Have to push the button in there, yeah, tighten it on, and away you go. When you're done, you just take it back off again, chuck on the next one. Pretty cool. And this mandrel here is just a bigger size, so it can take these larger diameter holes. And this is what I used to stick them in to cook them. You just roll them up, jam them in there. Different sizes, of course. 14mm written on that one. They went from about 9mm up to about 22mm. Got all these boxes in the back full of them. I've got hundreds and hundreds still of these. I've got bags and bags and boxes of them, which I think I might throw away after this video. I use these sort of ones every now and again just for when I want to sand little things. But I don't know why I've kept these tapered ones, because they're pretty useless. Anyway, I might chuck one in a grinder now and go out and attack a mag wheel. This mag wheel has had a hard life. It's been curbed a number of times, but even worse than that, whilst going up north, going down the Brent Derwins, I hit a pothole on the way down to Waipu. I had the mother-in-law in the back. The car was full, the boot was full. I couldn't get to the spare tyre, and the spare tyre on this is only a shitty space saver anyway. So I thought, these low-profile tyres, I'll just keep driving. Thankfully they held in there really good, but there's a bit of damage on the rim. Let's just see if we can tidy that up a little bit. There's a lot of sharp edges here that ideally should have been removed, but like the chance of even getting a tyre like this, which is a pretty odd profile for a small little town to have, a 205 40 R17, and so they had one. This wasn't the right speed rating, but I said, hey, just get it on there. I need this car to be functioning for this weekend. I'm hundreds of kilometres from home, and I've done this on a low speed so that I could talk over top of it, but it is unfortunately destroying this cartridge roll pretty damn quick. But it is getting rid of all the sharp edges, which is good, but I think I need to go swap it out for another one and crank up the speed a bit. getting much smoother though. I think I could actually tidy this up properly. There's a lot of work needs to be done here. There's big sharp bits on there. This is going to work, eh? I'm going to have to get a few more of these cartridge rolls on the go and give this a good cleanup. Cool. I knew keeping hundreds of these things would come in handy one day. If you want to see what happened to that one, wow, that'll probably only be in the Patreon video. Patreon links down below. Also, there's member links down below now too if you want to see these videos before everybody else, and a few other bonuses, bonus posts and photos and behind the scenes sort of stuff. Check out the join button below here somewhere. If you can't find it down there, go to my channel page, and I'll try and put a link maybe down there for that too. Go to my channel page and there's a membership section on there now, and you can join up for a few bucks, get the videos earlier, and help support me making these videos, because it's getting harder and harder. YouTube is not making things easy at the moment, and the whole world, you know, it's getting tricky out there. So if that's something that interests you, check out the links down there. As well as the burrs and these cartridge rolls, you can also put little cut-off wheels in these things, or you can even put these sort of things if you can find ones that are rated high enough. These are cheap, shitty ones. You don't want one of these firing little bits of wire out of your face and your eyeballs at 29,000 RPM. So if you do get something like this, make sure it is rated to take some speed. And when I did all the stuff for 3M, I used to get all sorts of other 3M stuff, like the flap wheels like this, and the ones that have this bloody scouring pad stuff on. I used to go through tons of those because I got them for free. And to pay for them now, I can't even bring myself to do it. They're just so ridiculously expensive for what they are. Anyway, I used to get the rejects all the time for free. See if you can work out why this one was a reject. Anyway, this one is rated to 12,000 RPM, so this could be used in one of the die grinders. Looking at the collets of the die grinders, we'll see that they are... Come out, you bugger. Ooh, that's well stuck in there. So that's the collet. Now if you think, okay, that's cool, I'll use my router ones so that I can get 6mm or other sizes. Well, unfortunately, this is the 6mm collet that I use in my Makita trim router, but if you have a look, you can see much bigger diameter. Even though this is 6.35mm and this is 6mm, the outside diameter ain't gonna fit in the die grinder, unfortunately, and they're a different height, so yeah, totally different system, so make sure you get the right collets. Having said that, I went and found this because this is 6mm and my mandrels here are 6mm, and so I thought a bit loosey-goosey in this one. But it did tighten up enough to be able to use them, so it did get down to 6mm, so you might be lucky. Might just depend on the individual bit, you know, the tolerances of the company from which you are buying things from. But yeah, that did actually clamp up quite nicely, worked fine, didn't slip. But something to be aware of, and remember they do make these right down to 1/8 of an inch. 3mm, 6mm, 6.35, 8mm. I'll put the page link down there with the part numbers. Now of course you can use a spindle lock to lock it to get things on and off, but you can get a second spanner and put it around the shaft itself there. But it is a little bit tight in that this sticks out a long way, and the addition of the light has meant there's not a lot of room for grippage in there compared to the old 18-volt ones. But ideally you shouldn't need it, because you should just be able to lock that in and wrench it open. Not the most exciting thing to video and make a review about, but that is the new Makita XGT die grinders. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want a right angle one. I'm guessing a heap of you are going to ask for a right angle one. They are quite long, but they do fit in this Mac Track. Get it right, tools. Not too shabby, fitting in this medium toolbox. I think that's what this one's called. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up button if you wish, and I'll see you soon.